Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Live with Suzi's show. I'm your host, Suzi Khatami, and also producer of the show. We're very happy and delighted to once again have Mr. Shane Malek with us. And believe it or not, this is our part number 18 that we have already started this series and talking about the financial world, in particular, the retirement plans, what is out there. And Mr. Malek, every other week, talks to us and explains everything in detail. And of course, if you have more questions and concerns and want to know more what to do and how to do them, you can happily call the toll-free number 1-800-477-1556 and also check out the website www.fmisinc.com. Mr. Malek is the president of FMIS Inc., as well as the financial consultant with many, many years of experience with a lot of happy clienteles. And I would definitely suggest, in case this is your first time listening to this episode, to go back and check out the other parts that we have started. And again, it's going to be number 18 today. And by checking out other parts, you get to know more and more about the world of finance, in particular about the retirement plans that we have talked about, either by going to the website fmisinc.com and or check the platform of Live with Suzi's on social media and podcast and YouTube, etc. On that note, without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Shane Malek once again to Live with Suzi, and thank you for choosing our platform to talk about this important issue for all of us.
Hello, Suzi. Thank you for having me. Always. I think you have brilliant listeners as you are, and I enjoy this very much.
Thank you very much. Likewise. Lovely having you with us. And I believe today, besides the fact that I definitely would want to remind you and our listeners and viewership that there is a seminar coming up. So as much as information you have to share with our followers, please go ahead and do so. I don't want to forget this important matter. And then we would be all ears to listen to what topics you want to talk to us today about.
Yes, thank you. On the seminars, obviously, as you know, I used to way back when, before all this COVID situation begins, we regularly used to have them. And
Absolutely.
then, of course, things stopped. And then kind of changing scenery. So we moved from, depending on the venue that we use. So, yes, it'll be coming up, and I'll announce it shortly as to when before the end of the year. But tonight, I wanted to mainly talk about, obviously, retirement and generally things that people ignore and avoid. Just one of those is not on the top of your list of checking every day. I, being in this arena for so many years, obviously, sadly to say, I always lose some clients per year. It's very unfortunate, but then I need to take care of all the affairs for the survivors, the beneficiaries, and loved ones that have, of course, make sure that everything is as equitably as possible divided and done as requested by the client. One of the things that I'm learning more and more, to my surprise, is that a lot of people, that particularly people that are W-2 employees and work for a company, do not really update all the information that they once filled out with the company when they started working there. So it could be information that's as old as 30, 40 years sometimes. And things have drastically changed in their lifestyles. And I'm dealing with one of those situations, unfortunately. It's very sad, particularly if there's no trust involved in it and you just have the named beneficiaries. And unfortunately, most people in the early days of their work don't probably have a trust, and they just, put someone's name as the beneficiary. If that person could be your mom, your sister, your
Mm-hmm.
dad, and if they're no longer, or if it's your spouse, then you might have been divorced. So those things going to create issues, which means it would go to probate, it would delay things forever, and I mean, forever, meaning it's going to take 2, 3 years of clearing all that and the
Right.
costs involved in that. So I would highly recommend that you make sure you have, check all your uh, accounts that you have as to whether it's a bank account or whether you do have some retirement funds that you're putting away regularly, like a 401k, things like that. You have to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that is everything up to par, up to date. If you have a trust, you need to make sure your trust is the trust is up to date as well. So you have to review that with your attorney, and so it would make a huge difference for your heirs. God forbid if anything
Right.
happens, because then they'd have to basically, when you have all of that, but say if they're either deceased, your beneficiaries either deceased or moved on. So it's going to create a difficulty here. So that's what I'm really at this very moment talking here about,
Mm-hmm.
because we, unfortunate situation, I had someone at the age of 63 just passed away.
Oh, sorry.
But
Mm-hmm.
I had one about a month ago. Remember, you was talking
I
to me about.
remember you talked to us about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well, I think
unfortunately,
sometimes, using the life examples, obviously, never bring anybody's name to this, but
of course not.
talking
No,
about the
no.
issues that you come across and it's
Mhm.
so, apparent, and you share with us, that kind of, I think, stick to our minds much better because it's more vivid and we can kind of feel it that, hey, it is happening and we better kind of be careful and
Right,
prevent stuff from happening that, so we're all
but
prepared, in other words.
absolutely. But also the other issue that is also important here is for people to understand the role that what the beneficiary situations will change their financial affairs. For instance, I mean, I see people that choose their, I don't know, 6 or 7 or 8 year old children. Number one, you don't do that. You don't normally have a minor as a beneficiary, because if anything happens before they become a legal age, everything will be locked up and they can't have access to.
Is legal age in this matter 18 or 21?
18, it's
Okay.
18. So, but then again, even that at 18, you don't want to have your assets, dispersed to someone who's 18 years of age. So
That's
I don't
true.
think you also don't want to do that. So you
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure. And then just to come back to the age thing, that's one issue. The second issue is a lot of people that work on the pension programs per se, or they do have there's certain, normally when you have the pensions, either you contribute a little bit to it, your employer is doing that. Besides, this is aside from your 401ks and what have you. So what happens is when you have a younger beneficiary, meaning that say if you're 50 years old and you choose someone who's 16, 18 years old, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
then the whole actuary of calculation is
Mm-hmm.
based on that 18-year-old and his or her life expectancy if you're not there. So
Right.
what happens is it reduces your income to a lower amount. Should it have been your husband or spouse, let's say of 50 or 55 or 60 years of age? Because when you have a shorter life expectancy for the beneficiary, then the calculation works as such that your income would be higher while living. So these are the issues you need to understand and know, and then very wisely elect your beneficiary. That's one issue. And then, of course, the second issue we've always talked about is that you need to have all your ducks in order, basically. You need to
Mm-hmm.
understand where your money is, where you're invested, what it's doing for you, what sort of income you would have should it come to a retirement or situation where you don't work anymore. And most people don't have that. And so it's very, very important to have those things taken care of.
Right.
obviously before anything happens to you. And and I keep repeating this is because it's really, really put a dent in this particular situation that I'm talking about, because they
Mm-hmm.
have to go through this very torturous 2.5 years of court appearances, and writing back and forth between issues in this particular case that I have between attorneys and all that. So it's going to be very difficult. Please make sure everything's in order. You know where your finances are, where they're going, where your heir is going to be, how they're going to be utilizing this money without having to go through all of this things afterwards.
I see. So,
Uh,
in other words, from what I understand, what you're saying is, even if some people or some of us think we have done it, like we have a trust, we have this, we have that, we should still make sure they're all updated and up to date, because things may have changed from like 10 years ago when I had my trust written for
Correct.
me,
Oh, yes. You need
or
to,
yeah.
yeah, you need to update. You need to review your own trust always,
Mm-hmm.
and sit down with your attorney for 30 minutes, just go over things and see if anything needs to be changed. Anything's changed in the meantime in the laws that you need to be sort of worried about. But for most part, yes, and you need to understand, who to trust. And one of the things really commonly change, it's the trustee of people that they put in their trust. So things change, and that's very common as far as I'm concerned. That
Right.
happens all the time. People keep changing these people, so you need to make sure to be updated with all that information that you have. So if anyone has any questions, by all means, they can call and I can kind of elaborate on these, but these are
Absolutely.
the issues that I need to make sure that everyone hears, and these are the real problems, especially in a country like this, that the law and order is very, very sturdy
They're
and
serious
strong.
about it.
And yeah, and then you
Yeah.
don't want to sort of have any hiccups after that, unfortunately.
No, no surprises. So we
No
want to make sure
surprises.
as much as it's possible and doable, that we do things in advance to prevent further issues from happening. At least the ones that we can control.
The
We
ones
can't
we can
control
control.
everything, unfortunately, but the
Yes,
ones
of
at least
course.
we can, with the help of Shane Malek, we should take care of it. No excuses on that note. So thank you so much for this session, Mr. Malek, as always. And for you guys who are listening to the show, if you have any questions, please feel free to call toll-free number 1-800-477-1556, and also check out the website FMISINC.com. Until our next talk, which is going to be in 2 weeks, I wish you all the very safe time, and be safe and happy. And thanks again, Mr. Malek.
Thank you, Susie. Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Likewise.